Hello everyone and welcome to another video with me, 320 Sim Pilot, and today an exciting video for you. We are taking a look at Frankfurt Airport, the new Mega Airport coming from Aerosoft for Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is a preview version and it is releasing very soon on September the 5th, 2024. I'm a real-world airline pilot. I have flown aircraft into Frankfurt Airport many times in real life, so I'm going to use that experience to hopefully give you an idea as to whether this add-on provides a bit of a real-life experience of what that airport is like to operate in and out of. It is, like I say, a preview copy. It's not the final product, so of course this is not a full review. We're just going to take a look around it and it will give you an idea whether this is something you're interested in. And like I say, I'll talk to you about whether I think it captures what I felt my experience of flying into Frankfurt was. Frankfurt is a huge airport, so this is a really exciting one to come in detail into Microsoft Flight Simulator. I think a lot of simmers are going to be really excited to see it and try it out, as of course it is a huge hub of aviation within Europe. It's actually Germany's most busy airport by passenger numbers. It's one of the busiest in Europe, and it's also a huge centre of aviation routes. And of course Lufthansa, it's their main hub as well. There's Lufthansa Cargo, which you can see over there, Lufthansa Technik hangars and all sorts going on. It is a big place, so there's a lot of detail for them to bring, and we're going to see in today's video how that comes across in the simulator. To start with, we're going to just do a little rewind and you'll get to see an approach and landing in this A340-300, which I just could not resist flying, as it is of course Lufthansa are the largest operator of the type, and it does fly into Frankfurt, I believe. Certainly it must have at some point, so yeah, we have the excuse to do that. And then we're going to take a stroll around the airfield as you see it here. So here we are then, currently downwind for our approach into Frankfurt Airport. This is a fantastic airport to fly the A340 into, so I couldn't resist the chance, Lufthansa being the largest operator of the A340-300. So we have here the LVFR A340. And as you can see in the background, there is Frankfurt am Main. It is a big airport, and yeah, it is one that you don't forget operating into for quite a few reasons, which we'll talk about as we go through the video. The presence of this scenery and the detail, even from here on our downwind leg, is quite noticeable. You can see that they've really captured all those little buildings and details, and as we get closer and closer, that detail will just build up and up. But I'm not noticing any significant performance hits, and I am using a add-on aircraft that is not the most perfect performance aircraft ever. It is pretty good, but yeah, it is a slightly more complex than the detailed aircraft, and we have this scenery, and I'm not noticing any issues, so that's a good sign so far. So let's fly our lovely, beautiful A340 in for an approach into the huge, sprawling Frankfurt Airport, and just see if they've captured the essence of what it's like to do such a thing and to taxi around such an airport. Now, of course, let's take a look at the charts. What is going on? And this is the first thing you need to know if you're flying into Frankfurt Airport. This can be very confusing very quickly. I often refer to choosing the right start, so terminal arrival route and approach route, as a sort of a jigsaw. You have to get them all to connect. But flying into Frankfurt, sometimes it just doesn't. You can see here, I'll just expand this for you, there is a huge amount of chart options here down the left. Each one of these will take you onto different sets of runways, or quite often no runway at all. As you can see, these ones just drop you off downwind on this side, and they are listed as for the 07 left, center, right. So that would do you well for the easily facing runways. But there are loads and loads of options. The list is really quite remarkable. A lot of these are using this sort of lateral holding technique without having to put you into a hold, so you can sort of fly around here and then expect to be broken off to begin your approach. But as you can see, these stars will take you into the westerly runways, but they don't connect to any of the ILS onto the westerly runways. What this means is you can expect to fly some sort of vectors, radar vectors, onto the approach, because it is of course a busy airport. So there are the runways there, which we'll talk about once we are on the ground. But for now, let's just jump straight through that, and we'll just fly and approach RLS, and we'll do the 25 center runway because we are lucky and we're flying a Lufthansa airplane, so we'll get to land on our preferred runway. The reason we want to land onto 25 center is it's going to be the shortest taxi in to our terminal for parking, which is great news. So I've got the RLS Zulu, which is this one here, and I've pinned it. So there we go. I fly down a pretty standard 3-degree ILS. Frankfurt is a well-equipped airport, so you have options of ILSs onto the 25 left, right and center, and they're all well equipped. As you can see, we've got Cat 2, 3 on 25 center, so it's capable of low vis. 25 left also has category 2 and 3, and does 25 right? Yes, it does. So that's three low vis capable runways all available. Very nice. That's a comforting feeling for pilots to have all those options. Now let's talk about another reason this is such a tricky airport for pilots to fly into. Here are the briefing pages that the charts provide, and you are expected to know what's in here before you fly into this airfield. Look how many pages of just walls of text that they provide. Some airports this can be 2 or 3 pages long, if that, but this is what you get for flying into Frankfurt. It's crazy. There is so many pieces of information, rules about where they want you to depart. Some of this stuff is, you know, what to do if you have a communications failure, things like that. Some will be limitations on low visibility procedures, and then look, you've even got temporary work as well. It just goes on and on and on. But here is the ground chart. Landing on 25 Center, we can then expect to vacate to the right and taxi in, park on the Lufthansa sort of area, which I believe is over here. You also have the other carriers who park over on this terminal over here, and to the south we have the cargo, and then of course there is a new Terminal 3, I think, being built but not ready yet. So this is the main 2 runways, the parallel 25 Center and left. Then you have the north-south runway that came later with lots of restrictions, and then you have the newest runway, which is over here, 25 right, used for shorter aircraft to land on, not really used for departures and so on. It's designed to just provide more capacity without adding too much noise. So yeah, a bit of an interesting story. So we'll talk about those a bit more once we're on the ground. Right, here we go then. Landing the A340, just make sure I have armed those speed brakes, which we have. Good. Autopilot disconnecting. 25 Center. Now they've got the right strobe lights. You can see the strobe lights to the left and right of that green runway threshold bar, so that's a good sign. Runway looks nice, good texturing. You can see where it's been resurfaced and crossed many times.
50, 40,
Flare. Not too much. Idle, please. It's not listening to me. There we go. There's touchdown. Using the old Xbox controller there. And decel, and we have reverse at idle. So let's ditch our A340 here just at the exit of the runway and take a look around the airport. And hopefully you're going to start to get an idea of the level of detail that they are going for with these mega airports. As you can see, we have all the right detailing on the fuel bowsers, but it doesn't just stop there. As you get closer and closer, you'll see that it really is amazing actually how many objects and specific 3D modeling has been done here. We've even got little light beacons on the top there, ladders up and down the sides, and all of this seems to stick around quite a lot. I've got the camera on quite a high zoom in, so it would eventually fade out of view. But yeah, it gives it a really nice detailed sort of texture. I always refer to these scenery add-ons as I want them to be a bit like a model railway or a diorama. I want to really feel like they've captured those bits of life that make it feel like a living airport. So having things like ladders reminds you that people do work there and it is a functioning thing. So I think that's really nice. Now I don't have any AI traffic on at the moment except for the default Microsoft Flight Simulator one. So you can see here that there are some static models included, including this Lufthansa A320 Neo in the new livery. But let's take a look around. This is a Technic hangar, so this is for maintenance. I don't think we can go inside. Oh, we can, but that's pretty empty. But this is down to they have worked hard to keep the performance of this add-on within acceptable tolerances. Now, I am really, really impressed. I've not noticed any significant slowdown using it. It is, of course, going to have some slowdown. It is a highly detailed scenery, so you can expect that. But I didn't get any stuttering on final approach or anything like that, even in my A340, which you can see over there. Now, all of these buildings will be very familiar to people who are locals or regular flyers in and out of Frankfurt. Here's the tower. Look at that escape ladder. That would be quite something to have to run down, wouldn't it? But there we go. All looks very, very nice. Captures that unique sort of structured shape. Towers are quite a significant feature of each airfield. But as you can see, inside, pretty plain. Fair enough. You're not going to spend any time looking in the tower if you're actually flying around, but it's a good way to save on resources. However, the exterior model is detailed, and like I say, this fire escape exit's all here. But let's move on to sort of how it might be like to operate in and out of this airport. Like I say, it's a hugely busy airport with lots of confusing taxiways, so it needs to match the chart, and they, as you can see, have done a fantastic job of doing that. As you vacate the runway, for example, at this exit, you would find yourself in an absolute myriad of yellow lines to follow. So you do have to have an idea of what you're trying to do. But if you follow this one right, for example, and then you might be sent left on November 7. But as you can see, November 7 is color coded. There's 3 different colors, and this is common at German airports in particular like this. Munich has a similar system. So they would say November 7 orange line. What that means is you could then taxi along here, join November 7, but you join the orange version of November 7. If they don't give you a color, it will be the yellow. So it's frustrating. It's not actually called yellow usually. It can be, but it's just the main November 7. And then you've got blue, November 7 blue line. You can see that the yellow line in the middle is actually wide enough for a long-haul aircraft, a big wingspan. But these 2 on the side use that magic 36 meters. And like I say, they've got these decals just right. The team has spent time at the real airport, of course, collecting photography and details about it to make sure that this is a reasonable rendition of the real airport. I say reasonable, an excellent rendition, I should say, a detailed rendition. They've worked very hard on it, and that's just obvious throughout. You have these sort of concrete blocks, which are used often in German airfields as well around the apron areas. So November 7 blue and orange, then you have the center, and the 36 meters is the magic number. Both the A320 and the 737 have smaller wingspans than the 36 meters, so they fit into here. So basically anything up to 737, A320, that sort of size. But long-haul aircraft will be using this center line. Then as you move over, we have all the different parts of the Frankfurt building. So you have the Lufthansa, I believe this is a Lufthansa terminal. I, of course, have not parked on this terminal here, but you can see they've got the logo proudly displayed all along it. And I love the detail. Look at that, even a bit of range sort of run off down it. Really, really nice. So you're obviously going to park your airplane up on stand here. And of course, you would have the stand guidance. I'll see if I can get that to work a bit later on as we try and park our A340. But yeah, you can just about see into the terminals and see that there is not an empty terminal in there. As we pop in, we actually have passengers sitting at the gate. Now here's my only slight frustration I'm having, is that I can't get the camera to go inside. I can see in, and I can see that there's people sat in there, and I can see they're even animated, which I really, really like. But yeah, my camera just sort of jumps out, and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. Usually I can just fly my drone inside and have a look around, but there you go. Slightly disgruntled looking passengers, so I hope we're not too late for them. And then the Lufthansa gates, priority boarding signs, look at that. Really cool. I really like that. All the correct labeling and sponsorship as well on the jet bridges. All of this adds up to give you that sense of a detailed airport that you're looking for. Frankfurt is huge, as you're getting the idea. Look at this. We can just go around forever. But as we do, don't miss the details on the apron. You've got the stop lines for the correct aircraft, A318, 19, 321, 738. So this is where the nose gear would stop. Now, you don't tend to use these anymore, but there was a time where either a marshaller can look for that and they can make sure your nose gear is on this, or you'd have a mirror and the pilot can actually use the mirror to see that their nose gear is on the right line, or most common now is you have an electronic guidance system. But look at that, you can see through, you can see the seats in the waiting area. I like that. That's going to really make you give that impression that you're arriving at the real airport, because of course you can see the gate, and I can even see the passengers stood over here, and that is just true. That's what you get. You're running late, you'll arrive and you will have passengers staring out the window at you wondering why you're late. That does happen. Let's just move it on to nighttime a bit and just see what happens then. So there we go. The apron is of course floodlit, big international airport, but look at that, the Lufthansa signs are correctly lit. You've got flood lighting for the apron, and the terminal is lit up inside. I can see that the passengers are there and I can see them. Very cool. I like that a lot. Got ops vehicles hanging around. Airports are hugely traffic dense. You have loads and loads of cars whizzing around all the time. That's why we have to wear a high vis when we're outside. Baggage loaders rushing to aeroplanes and fuelers and all sorts. So yeah, hence your staff will be like this well-dressed colleague in a high vis gear. Very, very important. I often say the most dangerous part of my job, although I go up in airplanes all day and everyone would, there are a lot of people who would find that a little nerve-wracking. But for me, walking around the aeroplane is a time when I need to be equally conscious of safety as I do with the actual flying of it, because it is a busy, busy place. Anyway, as we come around, that fantastic lighting of the Lufthansa, so that's all good. And while we have the lights out, let's take a look. Let's climb up. Look at that. Gorgeous. This is really, really nice. I am so impressed with the lighting, the taxiway lighting, the centerline lighting. You can even see the stop bars lit up for entering the runway. Yeah, this is a very, very pretty scenery. Here's our cars, ops vehicles driving around. So many things to be done to make this all come together, and all I can do is just hope I'm showing you with a bit of justice to it, to how nice it actually comes across. It's really great. Frankfurt Airport signs lit up over here. Gorgeous stuff. Bit of a cargo area. More an ambulance vehicle, even lighting up in blue. Racing around an airport this size, you would expect to see a few of those having to whiz around. And here we go. Look, we have some custom aircraft. Now, whilst we're in the dark, let's take a look at the approach lighting system. And look at this. Look how the runway lights work from the right angle. Then as you descend down, they disappear, which is just spot on because, of course, they are angled very specifically. But you can see the full approach lighting system set up because, as I said, these are low visibility runways, which is what gives us this center line. And then you have the side parts of the runway in red before you reach the actual threshold, which is the green light. And then you have the touchdown zone lights, which are these lights running along here. And then we have these strobe markers showing as well that it's the start of the runway. They're not common everywhere, but yeah, there they are. I really like that. As you come down the runway, you have the amber and green lights, which show that you're in a turn-off area, but you're also in the zone of the runway that would affect low visibility operations. So you are not allowed to, or you are still on the runway whilst the taxiway lights are amber and green like they are here. Now, on runways that aren't low visibility, those can just be green because it doesn't matter. They're just part of the taxiway. So you vacate the runway once you're off the runway itself and you're over the stop bar. But in this case, we have amber and green to show that we are in the sensitive area of the runway, and we're not vacated in a low visibility situation until they turn fully green. So as you can see, as we cross this first stop bar, which is here, this is the normal stop bar, but it stays amber and green because the actual Cat 2 stop bar is up here. So that's where it turns solid green. And again, they've captured that spot on. So that's why you get amber and green, and then you get green. So low visibility procedures, you can't say that you've vacated the runway until you're onto the fully green taxiway and you're clear of everything else, which is why I've put the airplane way over here. Also notice that the stop bar is lit up in red from the opposite side. I really like that. I'm not sure if there's a way for that to be turned off, but this is a key thing of modern airports now. It didn't used to be the case not so long ago, but stop bars are very, very common. That is a red stop bar. Air traffic control it. They will only turn it off when they've cleared us to enter the runway via this holding point, and we will not cross it. We do not cross a red stop bar under any circumstances unless there is some very, very specific reason to do so. I've never done it in my life. That would be a situation where a stop bar is broken or something like that and they can't turn it off. So there'd be a NOTAM, there'd be special procedures put in place. And you can see, yeah, we've got more stop bars here. Interestingly, this one is configured the other way around. So that's red on this side. There we go. Yeah, excellent lighting all round. And as you know, I've been saying about the size of Frankfurt, and you're thinking, well, it's just an airport, it's got a runway. But there you go, these are the two runways. This is 25 left and center. So they started originally, Frankfurt had 25, I believe it was center. Then during the Berlin airlift, because this airport has a fascinating history, it was used for the Berlin airlift, it was used for airships, and also was where the Hindenburg set off from, if you can believe that. And it was the Berlin airlift itself that meant that the main runway got worn out from such heavy operations. So they added another runway, and then they added this north-south runway, which is over here. So this is, let's just put it to daylight now, as we've enjoyed the night lighting. There we go. So this north-south runway is used mostly for departures. So when they're landing on the westerly facing runways, or even from the easterly, they will land, they will take off, sorry, on this north-south runway. This runway is interesting because, as you can see here, it does change composition halfway down. So there's a bit of a bump in it. So yeah, they've captured that as well. It's a really unusual feature of the runway. It does just change over as you're taking off. So that's good to see they've modeled that. And yeah, like I say, this runway used for departures, not typically or not really used for landing. So that's what you've got here, because you can't land over all these buildings right here and over the apron and everything. They do, however, land onto these 07 runways, which you see here, facing in that direction. And they would land over you as you're sitting on the runway here. So you'll be sitting here waiting for takeoff, or up here, and then they'll land on these runways, and then you'll be clear for takeoff, and off you go down this one, and you head off south, and then you can make your turn in the direction you want to go. You can see here that it's built in this forest area, the whole airport, and this was the reason that this extra runway here has been so controversial. People didn't want it to be built because it would involve cutting down forests. It'd be more noise and pollution for the people living nearby, as you can see over there. But eventually it was decided that they were going to do it, and they thought that putting it over here would be the best way to keep the flight path away from local residents, and you can see why. Basically, the final approach is flown overhead of the airport. It's only really used for landing, so you'll land on 25 right, and it's used for smaller regional airplanes. So yeah, it's not typically used for long-haul airplanes. It's a shorter runway, so you'll land, vacate, and then taxi back over to your apron wherever you need it to be. Now, as we carry on around, you can see this part of the terminal. I'm not even sure what goes on over here. I think this might be maintenance. I've never parked over here. But again, look at the detail, and as you get closer and closer and closer and closer, just super. Look at this, absolutely brilliant. Every stand labelled. You've got the shut-off button. You've got the emergency telephone. I'm really, really shocked at the amount of objects included in this add-on. Absolutely amazing. Even the ground texturing is just second to none. This is rain vent drains, obviously, and then you have these green bits, which will be the fuel connector. So what they'll do, instead of having a fuel truck full of fuel, they'll have a pump truck basically that drives in, connects to the fuel in the underground, and then connects to the wing of the airplane, and then pumps it via the truck. And that's where they do all the checking the fuel quality and everything like that, and specific gravity and measuring how much has gone on. So yeah, that's what they would do with those. Again, I've just not seen it all modeled. And here you see that loss of detail scaling, where it's just drawing things in as we get closer. First time I've seen it actually occur. But yeah, it is nice. Oh, look at A330. Yeah, looks really, really nice. Detailing on this building, fantastic. Now, over the back of Frankfurt is this big office area, and I believe it's this building here. And this is a huge office and hotel area, absolutely massive. One of the largest offices in Europe. And there's a lot of records held by sort of Frankfurt for its just size and scale and number of passengers and flights. But yeah, so if we head over, it will just show that we have a bit of detail beyond the main airport itself. So obviously I've got a bit of traffic on the main road there. And as we come down, let's just see if the area behind the terminal holds up to a bit of scrutiny as well. Already you can see all the buildings, all these custom buildings. This is a lot of work. I'm very, very impressed. There is a little metro system that runs along between these buildings, along here. I don't know if the actual train itself would appear or not, but there we go. I believe that runs to the big multi-story car park and to that big office building. And there's the car park. Look at that. Even got the spaces and the handicap spaces. Incredible. That's fantastic. And here we go. Yeah. KPMG, and I believe there's a couple of Hilton hotels in here. Very cool sort of future slash retro building, if that's even a phrase. Look at that. What's in here? Amazing. Big atrium, escalators, and here's the station. So you're getting the idea. Lots and lots and lots of things you could go around exploring, especially if you, like I say, live or use this airport in the real world. I think you'll have good fun driving around, use the drone, and you'll just get a sense of, or you'll be able to go and see your little bit that you use. Here we go. We have a train. There is a train. Look at that. Driving around the monorail system. Fantastic. Love it. Absolutely love it. This is my favorite sort of detail. Any animation is always going to be well received. Check-in desks. But it won't let me in again. But there we go. Self-service kiosks. Not entirely convinced about those. And more of the traditional check-in desks in the background. So it just goes on and on and on. And over on the south side, something that not... Oh, there is another terminal, but I believe that is what it's planned to look like, but is not currently operational. There's cargo over there on the right, but I could well be wrong about that. But there we go. So they have included the predictions for Terminal 3, but they have not got it operational yet as per the real airport. A couple of other unique features about Frankfurt Airport I want to show you, or I say unique, just slightly unusual. First of all, these taxiways run behind the runway. So the most commonly used runway will be the westerly. So this is runway 25 left and 25 center. Now, if you land on one of these runways, you'll obviously overfly these taxiways. Aircraft departing, and as I said, they will typically depart from runway 18 over there, unless they are allowed to depart from these, which they also can do, 25 left and center, especially if they're Lufthansa aircraft. But yeah, they will fly down the approach, fly over these taxiways and land. So what you actually have is stop bars. And look, here's a stop bar here on the taxiways that aren't runway stop bars, because you don't actually enter the runway, but you do cross the undershoot. So there you go. You can see here. So Uniform 8, and it's a Cat 1, 2, 3 stop bar affecting this undershoot. So you'd need to make sure you were definitely cleared across this. And then there's another one here before you cross the undershoot for 25 center. So although you don't enter the runway, you are effectively crossing in its path, because of course you couldn't have an A380 sat here as someone tries to land here. I don't think you could anyway. So there you go. Next up is this little apron. This is an absolute joy if anyone's ever had to park on here. You taxi off, then you go right here and onto these stands. So Victor 97, 96, 95. Now they've got an A321 on this one, and it's just so tight. The most common sort of airplanes you'll see over here would be smaller Embraers, 175, 195, CRJs, things like that. But you can get an A3, certainly an A319, I think an A320, maybe even a 21. As you can see, it does it's just over that red line, isn't it? But maybe if it was parked up a little tighter. But these are really hard to park on. You have to drive along like this. Then you see the yellow line, which they've got just right. So you have to move forwards and then bring the nose all the way round like that, straighten up, forwards, and park. It's tight. They are really tight to do that on. You can't just park normally. You've got to get further round and then bring that nose round like that onto stands. And then you've got a whole, the usual extra work of getting buses over to you and stairs and everything. Much nicer if you can get parked over on the main terminal. But the other carriers that use Frankfurt will often be on these remote stands as well. So all of these all use buses. And I've got to say, it's a generally very efficiently run airport. It does work. These stands, they are not too bad. But these stands are nicer than those over there because there's just more room to park onto. Those are so crowded in. So that's all for today's video. This is Aerosoft's Mega Airport Frankfurt, coming soon on the 5th of September to Microsoft Flight Simulator. I just wanted to give you a bit of a preview of it. Like I say, this is not the final version, but it is a preview version, and I think it is really super in the current state it's in, so we'll see how it goes down on release. But hopefully this video has been able to give you a bit of an idea as to whether this is the sort of scenery that you'll be interested in. Like I say, giving my context from my experience of flying in here in the real world, I think they've captured that really nicely. The mess of taxiways, look at all these lines, absolutely fantastic. They've got that just right. They've got the night lighting absolutely perfect with the stop bars and the low visibility procedures. And then we've also got these orange and blue lines, as well as the right labeling. So the 36 meters max span is just a small example of that. But right down to every single stand having the right number, the right label, the refueling on the grounds, the stop bars. I mean, it's just over and over again. The detail just shines through in this add-on, and I've found the performance to be very good on my laptop with an i9-13900HX processor and an RTX 4080. So certainly a powerful laptop, but nonetheless, it is a laptop, and I've not seen this scenery cause me too many issues. But I'm sure it has caused a slowdown of some sort on my performance, but I have not seen it cause any real trouble, such as stuttering or things like that. It's great to see animations as well, so to have the people running around inside the terminal as well as the trains and so on running outside the airport. And like I say, this just captures the huge scale and life going on at an airport like this. This is with very little AI traffic on at all, and you can see we've still got things moving around, driving around. So I imagine a busy day on VATSIM here could be a real treat. That's all then. Thank you again to Aerosoft for sending this over, this preview version, and there'll be plenty more previews, videos, live streams coming on the channel, so do please subscribe if you'd like to see those. Otherwise, we'll see you again in another video tutorial or guide in the near future. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.